Okay, we have a lot of questions. One common question I have seen, which runs across many of you, sir, is what is the procedure for getting the black money stashed away outside back into India, and how practical and how open could it be? How the process itself, and if it leads to full disclosure, what would happen to the people who have stashed away this money? Wouldn't the people be afraid of action, punitive action, which will be taken against them? And wouldn't they have already transferred this money from these tax havens to other places? So, what do you think about this? This question is from Shiv Shankar Sharma. There are others also who have asked similar questions.
The last one first is, actually I have been writing a 3-part series. 4th part is coming up in what is called the first post on this issue. So you can, a lot of the details are given there. Anyhow, funds could have been shifted from one to another, and funds may not even be in one location, and that's not a very major type of a funds might have been shifted from one location to another, or that's not really a major type, as long as we can, traceability is always there. The political will is there, extremely important. The procedure for bringing it is not too cumbersome. Many other countries have done. We have to create a special purpose vehicle, and we have to, channelize that, and then identify how long it has been outside, what is the, incidence of tax on it, how much should be taxed, how much should be brought in, and other things. And the other issue is pertaining to the persons, dealing with the people. That I think the government has to decide what type of, sometime it can be simple, what one can call huge amount of penalty levied, certain amount of it. Sometimes it can be impounding the money and then investing in, that's what the Philippines did, investing in infrastructure. And you will get only the benefits out of that over a long period of time. Some other cases it could be, it all, several classifications have to be made. Some other cases, obviously, you have to completely freeze the asset and then, strip it. And other cases, punishment and other things. Only thing is, we have to significantly strengthen our, legal system. I'll give you one example only. 2008 was the case of one person called Madoff. Some of you would have read about it, and in New York, who created a sort of a pyramid scheme, and it became a very huge issue. And then he was arrested and he was punished, and 150 years he was given punishment, 150 years. Now the same 2008 is the Satyam case in India. Still we have not filed in many cases what one can call the initial charge sheet. The CBI is struggling hard to get the full and interview him and other thing. And in between he is playing between badminton and tennis, what one to choose, which game to play, another. So our judicial system required to be phenomenally strengthened. Maybe we can create a special what one can call court system itself. And we can also create special financial commission to deal with the funds. Right? For instance, I was told by a lawyer, if finally Raja is held guilty, you know what, he is going to get only 6 years in jail. Just 6. As per the existing provisions under which the cases have been filed. And nothing is going to happen to his accumulated assets and other things. So the first and foremost is, we have to amend our justice system. 75 years should be the minimum. Let me be very, very clear. And if the leader is 80 years, 80 years should be the minimum. The reason is very simple. There is a simple theorem in finance, some of you, elementary theorem it is, probability of catching and the harshness of the punishment. These are the two parametric, it's called a 2-parametric distribution in terms of whether you are going to deviate from the normal path or not. So this is a Bayesian analysis and other thing, we will not go into it. So the probability of catching, even if it is low, but the severity of punishment, if it is very high, then also you are deterred from doing the task. I cross the red light. Suppose it is 10,000 rupee. Let's just imagine. It's obscenely high figure, you may say. But do you think anyone will go anywhere near the red light? 10,000 is not a small sum, right? For even well-to-do people, right? So the probability of catching should become high, but that will take more time. So in the absence of that, we should have the possibility of penalty should be phenomenally high. Anything less than 50 years should not be accepted. What will happen? You may argue that, would it not possible that some innocent guys, it will happen. I'm telling you. Can't avoid. Because we have reached a position of a tilting point in our social existence, in case some innocent guys might be hurt also. Right? That's quite possible, but it will be phenomenal deterrence. If 10 guys, I'm telling, 10 political leaders, business leaders, whatever, social leaders, if 10 of them are given 80 years of imprisonment, let's assume, right, for a minute, and it comes in newspaper, names are coming. I'll tell you, for another 10 years at least, there will be enormous amount of peace and tranquility in this land. 80 years. 80 I'm talking about. Right. No way of coming out. So that should be so the deterrent should be very, very severe, and this signal should be given to people. So this is something which we have to, and yeah, I'm not telling that all those kept funds there should be put for 80 years. We have to have a very enormous amount of work we have to do. As I told you, US did something like 2.5 years. Everyone who passed through the immigration channel, US doesn't have only one entry point. Port, airport. They collected UBS overall, and where are all they are going, whom they are meeting. So it's a very painstaking type of a job. It's not something like like the French Revolution time guillotine, hang like that. You have to start doing it. Then you can discriminate between, people who have got the ill-gotten wealth, but purely they, kept it for tax purposes. People who have used, for instance, some of you may know the gold control order in 66 we brought it. That's one of the atrocious act ever came into this country. By that you are not supposed to buy gold at all. And during the entire period, you look back, everybody was buying gold because it was getting smuggled from Dubai and other places. So there is huge amount of this later terrorism, if you go back into their history, Dawood Ibrahim and so many others, they all started on gold smuggling basis. Nothing, huge amount of, later on they diversified into other forward and backward linkages, as we call it in management jargon. So it is easier for one to talk about it. Just bring, even Anna says, bring the law. Nothing wrong about it. Law should be brought. That by itself is not adequate. 1961, in Mumbai there was a procession, Delhi there was a procession, Chennai there was a procession. You know what was the event that took place? 1961 we passed Dowry Prohibition Act. Ashok Sen was the law minister, Nehru was the prime minister. It was told it is the most historic moment in the Indian history, turning point. Because after that they told, no, there will not be dowry. 61. Today we are in 2011. Right? Men will be shying, but ask the woman, what is the actual situation? But we also had other case. What is the other case? Session became election commissioner. No new law was passed. If you go back in history, nothing was passed. No amendment was done. No regulation was introduced. But in my area, in Bangalore, where I stay, near a polling booth, some, galata was going on. Small level, very small. Somebody told session is coming. All of them ran away. He created such a lot of people criticized him. They told he is going overboard, or during his time, some of you may recall. But he established this. Even today, whatever said and done with all the things, the next ones who came maintained is. Today there is a lot of complaints against regulation, restriction, but still. So it's not just the enactment by itself is going to sort it out. We have to have people who will, and I am sure we have enough number of capable people. That's not a very major. So the justice system should be amended, wherein the possibility of getting severe penalty should be clearly enunciated. This could be for maybe for 15, 20 years. After that, it can change. Currently, in a situation, the penalty should be so severe. Some innocent will also get caught, possibly, and go inside for 80 years. That's the price the society has to pay.
The next question is from one.
No? That is then a good thing. What's the big deal? Because you are an oppressor. And then this, very funny, this Transparency International, they publish most corrupt country. Everybody is quoting that another thing. Fascinating thing is, it is countries like India, Somalia, Nigeria, they are all listed there. The first country which should be listed there is Switzerland. UK, they are not listed there. It's a very funny situation, The people who take away the illegal wealth, they are not considered as corrupt countries. People who give the thing. Obviously, this Nigerian, officials vis-a-vis the chartered accountants and lawyers in, Cayman Island and others, they are nothing actually. They can be bought. So we have to change the debate entirely on its head first. And this, this double taxation treaty are all wasting our time. And Swiss will say that, very periodically, unfortunately, our mainstream media, one major error which NDA government did was to allowing 26% of FDI in media. According to me, I wrote to them that time, do not do that. Right? Because you do not know actually, who is controlling the 26% of it is held abroad actually. So what type of so actually one of the major newspaper in South is going to, has already got a foreign citizen as editor. The Hindu paper, it's not some top secret I'm telling or anything. So the media is also not going to be very helpful in this entire game, because we ourselves went and now there is a pressure to make it 49% in terms of media. So after that, you do not know what type of a thing will be. So this is not, future, this periodically it comes, Swiss is willing to give and they are not willing to give. Don't ever have any illusion. None of these tax havens will be interested in giving you either the money or the information on their own, unless we keep a gun on their temple. This is something, we have to keep the gun. That's the only way in which we can extract. Of course, our neighbor country, Pakistan, they keep a gun on their own head and, threaten others. That we cannot do. They are something different. They keep a gun here. And then everybody is worried, he is going to, because they have nuclear thing and he cannot do any such thing. So we have to be very clear. None of these tax haven is going to voluntarily come and take. One of the stolen data was given. That's the only thing. Right? We have to be very, we have to exercise our, what one can call, slowly emerging. 2 trillion we are becoming. In another couple of years we will become 3 trillion actually. On purchasing power parity basis, we are something like 3rd or 4th in the world. We are not some, small. We have to behave like a big gorilla in the global market. Hit 1 or 2 fellows, it will happen. All right, gorillas hit actually. What we can do about it, right? So, sorry sir, very sorry, we have hit you. And then again step on the fellow. Bombay local train you have traveled, I'm sure, right? You step on somebody's feet and then he will shout at you, very sorry sir. Another feet also you step on. Same fellow. Oh, why did I step on the same fellow? Third fellow, you have to choose a new fellow. That's the only thing. Like, or in the cinema hall, they step on the fellow and then go. And this fellow shouts, so why did you step and go out? And while coming also, why are you stepping? Now I want to know which row I, went out from. So that, this is you have to behave like local train of Bombay or local bus of, Calcutta or any such place. Vis-a-vis these fellows. So if you are very subservient, if you are very obedient, there is no need at all for it. One interesting thing is last two years actually, a number of leaders from Switzerland who have visited India is mind-boggling actually. Their finance minister has come, their commerce minister has come, their chief of their parliament has come, their bank association. Everybody has come. Everybody is worried about it. When originally Azare did the fasting at this Jantar Mandar, largest foreign contingent was Swiss TV people. But they are wondering what is this fellow is going to say. Sometimes he may say, somebody will say Swiss chocolate, somebody will say Swiss cheese, he may say Swiss black money. So it's not something they are very comfortable with today's situation actually. They are also equally concerned. You never know, somebody may suddenly make it a, and India is also reasonably unpredictable type of a country. It's not very easy to, otherwise in the, pouring rain in Delhi today, I was told that thousands of people have assembled. It's not a very, so we can, I think we should, I feel we should exercise our power externally. Very important. For that we require lot of political will and other things. Because day before yesterday I saw Lalu Prasad on the TV. He says, leave corruption to us. So I was very worried. What does he want to communicate? It's not clear to me. He could have talked in Hindi, but he wanted to insist on talking in English because he wanted to become PM. He says, leave corruption to us. That means, what he mean to say perhaps is that corruption, laws and other thing is parliamentarians. Leaving corruption regulation to Lalu Prasad. This is a very, one shouldn't say in Maharashtra, I have to go home to Bangalore. Then suddenly you'll say Sharad Pawar will take care of all these issues that came in.
Mr. Gyanendra Mishra, he wants to ask you, please explain more about your comment. India doing better economically because of still having family values and system intact or in place.
Very simple, sir. See, India is, the people talk about FDI, FII so much. Don't, less than 8% of our investment is due to FDI and FII. Let's be very clear about it. No year it has exceeded 8%. Where does this remaining come? Remaining come from domestic saving. Domestic saving contributes. Where does the domestic saving come? 80% of our domestic saving is household saving. Household? Somebody was asking me in Delhi, what is the reason for who is financing our growth? I told, you put a statue of what is called average Indian housewife in every town of this country. Kamrup to Kozhikode. Kashmir to Kanyakumari is risky these days. Kamrup to Kozhikode. You put one statue of an average Indian housewife, unknown housewife standing like this. She is the responsible for our economic growth. Very simple. Nothing else other than that. And not only that, huge amount of financing of our growth comes from domestic saving. Our investment is for domestic output and consumption. My Chinese professors always used to say, in China it is made in China. In India it is made for India. It's a huge amount of difference between the two. So it is for domestic consumption and propelled by domestic saving. And why does this domestic saving is such a huge thing? Because we still have family as a unit of operating enterprise. US is not. US domestic saving is actually negative. Average domestic 13 credit card they hold. Everything is on credit basis, including death. I can tell you that much. My colleague Jim Gentry in Illinois, we were traveling. He suddenly stopped the car and told, "This is the place I'm going to be buried." I told, "Don't talk like in our country. We don't talk all this." He told, "No, this is a place." I told, "Why are you sure?" He says, "I am paying the EMI for that place and the casket which is going to come later, along with the flower." And he has also made a MS Word document, one page, how good a professor he was. And, he has already, somebody has to read it, He has prepared it. Everything is on EMI, sir, and EMI is adjusted because if this fellow lives longer, that plot has to be, so it's called flexi EMI. He has to pay, otherwise that then casket, flowers, and 4 fellows will be arranged also, who will say some good things. Jim Gentry was such a noble man, and the entire thing is on credit basis. There is no saving at all. I told you there are no families to tell the kids you can't go on right. And you know that what is called, people like me in US are called married and continually married. Can you believe this? Legally, I went to a bank and then asked, they asked me to fill up a form. That in India you say married or single, you tick one of them and leave it. That form itself was half a page. twice married, thrice divorced, thrice married, and then living together, not married, married, not living together. So many complications were there. And then also in Georgia, where I was, the same sex union is also recognized. I was really reading, I didn't know what to tick there. I was confused actually, and because I tick something wrong, you know that. Back home I will be roasted. I can't tick something. Back home they will roast me here when I come back. So I have to be careful. I asked that manager, what is my, sir, are you married? Yes, what question you are asking? I am very much married. Are you married to the same woman? What is this? In our belief system, 7 lives we are married to the same woman. That manager fell down from her chair. She fell down from her chair. 7 lives, sir? Yes, 7. My wife think it is the 7th. That is a different issue. So I told her, this is, so what I want to stress is, the married and continually married people, you may be surprised, is only 24%. Huge amount of one-parent families are there. One-parent family is typically only women families, not men. They have 2 kids, 3 kids. And, you know, we are here talking about child marriage and other things. There are large number of proportion of people in US and UK who are getting pregnant at 13 and 14 years. We don't want to talk about it. It's a huge crisis for them. And who will take care of it? Government will take care of it. That's what I use the word, families have been nationalized. Corporates are privatized. I would rather have companies with government. Let it be unproductive, it doesn't matter. I would like to have a efficient and productive families. Families are, you know, you can't ask anyone there in UK or US, you know, you take care of your father, he will say what rubbish you are talking. Parents are not meant to be. But we want to emulate that system. We want to imitate that system. We feel that is the best system which we should get into. So let me repeat, family as a unit of operating social system is going away in West. That is one of the major factors for the decline of the West. And we have to seriously think, should we adopt the same route, same method, or whatever you know, is something which particularly metropolitan cities and other things, this is what is considered to be a most acceptable route. It will destroy the system also here. That is what I wanted to simply communicate. Our growth is due to our household saving and significant 80%. And again, FDI and FII put together never ever crossed 8%. So whatever the papers may say, people may, they say that somebody told me, sir, you should not yawn, you should not sneeze. If you sneeze, FII may not come. So you have to hold your, because that fellows will get upset and you have to behave as per their, not required. You can sneeze and you can, no problem at all. But still 88% is domestic saving. Of that 80% is household. This is something which people don't want to talk about another thing. And it's not here, but still I will tell you, the Sensex India is hardly 4% India in terms of GDP. It's not something, it's very important. It's a different issue. Not one is not trying to say that it is not at all important or anything. It is important, it has its own context. Even today, the household financial saving, only less than 5% goes to the stock market. In India, it goes to banks, it goes to provident fund, it goes to insurance, all these areas. Japan, same. Japan provide 0.5% or 0.25% bank interest. Actually, 2 years before it was a peculiar situation. You can't keep money in the bank. You have to provide money to them. But even today, they don't go to the stock market. One of the highly awarded stock market in the world is Japanese stock market. International fellows are going, but not Japanese are going to the bank. Entire Asia, significant amount of Europe are all bank oriented. They are not stock market. Only US is stock market. Only country is stock market. And we tend to think the whole world is, no, whole world is not. Less than 4.5% last year of the money goes into share market, of the household saving. So our housewives are reasonably clever. Actually, 80s throughout they were buying gold, 90s also. Now it is 28,000. They are not going to stop it, I think. They will buy more, perhaps. So somebody told, why are they? I told, see, one thing is be very clear. If Indian woman does something, that means there is something very clever and sharp. They are the never ever try to find any. Close your eye and they are the largest, what one can call, engine of our economic growth, according to me. Because some other topic, some other time we will discuss this. I am writing on this. We are basically a feminine economy. Economies can also be classified into masculine and feminine. They are a feminine economy actually, and we should protect. Feminine economy is environment friendly. Feminine economy is what one can call animal friendly, and it is women empowered, women powered. They may not be in boardroom and other things, but in breakfast table they decide basically, and dinner table also they. Sometimes dinner table itself they decide. So it's not something which we need to be. So as long as their saving is there, that is what is actually propelling our growth. This, I think, this we should, get it very, very clearly into our system. Yeah.
So Anish asks, according to you, why is the government not implementing the Jan Lokpal bill? And I can't understand the second question. The third question is our PM an honest person in your mind, according to you? Is our Prime Minister an honest person, according to you?
Very ticklish question, these are all. Why government is not implementing, I think all of us know the answer. There is no need to spend time on it, right? Because I think a lot of public data says so much amount of our MPs have got criminal background. 2 of our cabinet ministers are inside. So I don't think there is any, there is a huge amount of associated, what one can call this cavalier attitude and anything chalta hai and other, right? PM is an honest person. There's a lot of debate on that. How, some people say, omission is as bad as commission. So he himself may not be. So why is he, tolerating all this around him and everything? So it's a very, that's a very larger debate.
Mr. Nitin Parab asks, how would you bring about a change in the constitution, which itself is sacrosanct and about change?
No, constitution is not sacrosanct or anything. If I remember correctly, last 78 or 79 times it has been changed, amended and other things. There is nothing sacrosanct. It's a man-made, group of people, and over time period, all constitutions are changed, amended, and there is nothing, no major reason why one should. Like originally, for instance, it was we formed certain states and other things. UP got split into 3 other states, and now Andhra Pradesh wants to also. So the whole original principle of linguistic reorganization itself has been questioned now. Many people say, why should there be a unit in terms of language? So there is, I don't think anything really. See, constitution are all what one can call belonging to the realm of secular. Anything secular cannot be to that extent. You cannot touch it or anything. Anything sacred is different. Anything sacred, definitely, you should not meddle with it. Very dangerous. Right. Anything secular can always be modified, amended, and changed, and created by human beings in our own last 60, 70 years before, right? So there is nothing.
Komal Bharadwaj wants to ask, isn't a tax haven inevitable? There will always be places where tax rates are low and people will always like to park funds there instead of choosing their home country where tax rates are high.
I would not say it is inevitable or anything, but in a changing scenario, it's quite possible that some of the eastern parts there could be some amount of tax havens for the suffering people in the west to keep their funds and other things. It's quite possible, but I don't see anything really inevitable about it or anything, because again and again, let me repeat it, this century there is a yearning among all people because of internet, so many things, that there should be more transparency, more. Otherwise, this WikiLeaks type of thing will come and there is no sense of secrecy anymore actually. The way in which the world is evolving and all. It's not, so something which developed in 18th century, 19th century is not again, something that people keep some funds and you don't know about it or nothing like that. So the post-WikiLeaks world is different than pre-WikiLeaks world.
Last question, sir. This is from Mr. Vishal Thakur. He asks you, even if Bharat attains its previous glory, what she had thousands of years back, what reasons will be responsible for her downfall in future?
Come again?
Even if Bharat attains its previous glory, what will be the reasons for her downfall in the future?
Oh, this is, I think if you are really of the Bharat, you won't ask this question. These are all cyclical, we believe in a lot of cycles, right? So it's not one cycle or, in a cosmic sense, there will be moving up and moving down. This is not something, a person well versed in the Indian ethos or roots or civilization would really worry about. The only thing is, how do we recoup or what is the effort we put in order to. And after, sir, 150 years again, will we be? Quite possible. One doesn't really. So these are larger cosmic cycles. But currently we are in a situation where we should really strive, and there is a unleashed potential of huge amount of entrepreneurship. As I told you, everybody wants to become a Vaishya today. There is a Dalit Chamber of Commerce. Some of you would have heard about it. It's very active actually. Everybody is into this thing today. So the Vaishyavization of India is taking place. So in this cycle, we will be there. Right? And unfortunately, the government should do the role of Kshatriya in the characteristic sense. But it is not doing. Government is doing the role of Vaishya. All the government fellows are wanting to do money making. That's not their role actually. They should play the role. I'm sure sometime or other they will start playing that role, right? So it's a very huge cycle. So we don't have to, 2060 will we be? It's not required for us to look to that. It's quite possible that others, as long as we stick to our civilizational roots, as long as we understand where do we come from and other things, we would be able to sustain. We have sustained. We are not something. We were not born in 1947. Let's be very, very clear about it. Even though some Marxist historian will tell that we started in 1947. No, our journey has started time immemorial, right? So that's the way in which we go. So that's the way in which we will go.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Praveen Pai is a consulting civil engineer and the chief coordinator for today's program. I would request Mr. Pai to come and present us with a vote of thanks.
Only one minor thing. People who are still interested, who have access to web and other things, they can always go to my website under my institute, and then, you can go to my IAMB website and then R. Vaidyanathan, they can click. One photo is kept slightly earlier vintage. Don't worry about that. Right? I have to change it. Somebody told to put the Priyanka Chopra photo or something. So the hits will be too much more. Anyhow, I didn't do that. I kept my, you'll be suddenly wondering what is this fellow who looks very younger. And,